Thank you so much for coming tonight to the second public hearing dealing with redistricting for Georgetown County. Just a few reminders for the evening. One, this session is being live streamed. Secondly, we would like to remind anyone who's going to speak publicly to come to this mic. For the folks that are listening out on the web, it's real important so they can hear the questions and comments that you're making. If you will please come to the mic that is on my left. We have some surveys dealing with the comprehensive plan. We are trying to certainly get our numbers up. We want to encourage you to please fill it out. Matt, if you'll wave your hand back in the back. That gentleman has the surveys. If you'll take a few minutes and fill out that survey, we really, really appreciate it. The survey is also available online. Takes 15 to 20 minutes pretty much to fill it out, and it is so important as we plan for our comprehensive land use. We want to know what you think, and this gives us an opportunity, of course, to get your opinion and provide some insight about what you see next for Georgetown County. The presentation that you're going to see tonight is about 15 to 20 minutes dealing with redistricting, where we are as a part of the process. You will certainly have an opportunity to ask questions and make comments. Tonight, we also have with us Chairman Morant, Councilwoman Lily Jean Johnson, and Councilor Everett Carolina. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, and they will make comments as they see fit, of course. So let's get started. Next slide, please. Redistricting is crucial and important to our community. It is mandated that we go through this process every 10 years. It changes who and how we vote on federal, state, and local levels. The key nugget, I think, for everything that we learn on redistricting is to try to have each district to be as equal as it possibly can be. Next slide. So why does it matter? Our goal, council's goal, what we have to provide to the state and to our federal counterparts is that we went through a process and our maps and our districts are as equal and as fair as we can possibly get them. So what you'll see as part of this process is there have been numerous drafts, hours spent by council, hours spent by the consultants that were a part of this process that started back with us in September. They made a presentation to council talking about a benchmark and where we want to start as part of this process. And they have very much been our partner in getting all of this done. Next slide. As part of this, there are some very definite rules that we have to follow. The number one rule is one person, one vote. Guaranteed as part of the Constitution, and certainly we wanted to make sure we've done everything we can as a part of that process. The Voting Rights Act is an important part of that documentation. Redistricting rules and principles, federal and state laws, and of course, court decisions. All of these things go and become a part of what we consider when we are looking at redistricting. Next slide, please. I added this slide for a particular reason. Census blocks. Census blocks are the foundation of any map that you put together for redistricting. I wish I could say we always understand why certain areas were pulled together as part of a census block. There are some areas may have 10 people, some blocks may have 900 people or 1,000 people, but it is the cornerstone of what you deal with when you're looking at redistricting for your area. Next slide, please. As we continue to talk about redistricting, one of the big things I want to stress as part of the conversation, the county does not determine what's in a census block. That is determined by the federal government. That's certainly one of the major rules that we have. You cannot divide a census block. We can move boundaries, we can change the way different lines are drawn, but we cannot divide a census block. It invalidates your map. So it's real important to us as we're looking at these maps, and folks have come and talked to me and said, well, Angela, just put this one street in it. And I said, no, sir, no, ma'am, I can't move a particular street. You have to move an entire census block to get the map just right. Next slide, please. So let's talk about the start of the process. Remember I talked about we had a state agency work with us to come up with the original map, the benchmark report, as they refer to it. And that agency was the Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office. And they basically looked at our current population and all the things that were out there, particularly dealing with how our population has changed in the districts as they are today. Clearly, what you see, 1, 2, 3, fourth column, some districts were over the magic number of 9,058, and some districts were under that number. The key that they are looking for us to do, where we check everything, is see that last little block that says deviation range. Right now, at the start of the process, it said 36%. By federal law, we can't have a change, deviation change, larger than 10%. We can have districts a little bit more than 958, some districts a little bit less, but we cannot have an overall deviation range larger than 10%. Next slide, please. When the state agency got to work and looked at our entire county, they brought 2 maps back to Georgetown County for our consideration. Those maps are regarded as map 777 and map 843. Map 777 is probably a very traditional map. They made very few changes. Did it fit the rules? It did, but it wasn't exactly what county council had envisioned that they wanted the county to look like as far as the districts were concerned. Next slide, please. The second map that they brought us was map 843. Again, did it meet the rules? It did. It was under 10%. at 843, but wasn't exactly like council envisioned that it would be. So council gave the staff a challenge. We want to make all these various changes. Please keep the standard deviation under 10% and go get to work. So we started meeting with each counselor for each district, and they started talking about shifting and moving and looking at keeping various communities of interest all together. Next slide, please. All those changes are found in the map that we called 843A. When council met last week, they voted for us to go forward for discussion at this point with map 843A. As you see, certainly it is within the standard deviation that they asked. It's also the map that we are going to bring and discuss and bring before you for your discussion. And it's the map collectively that everybody gets to respond to. Part of our public process. Does it mean it's the end? Of course not. There are certainly tweaks that we're looking at based on public comment and conversation that we've had from citizens to make the maps that we finally submit for final consideration to the state an even better map than what we found in map 843A. Next slide, please. 43A, basically, as you've noticed by this, presents a standard deviation of 7.13. There are substantial changes that are reflected in that map. We're going to have a group of slides that we'll go through in a few minutes that basically give a very broad summary of all the changes from area to area. Next slide, please. I want to call your attention to a couple of things in this map. And you probably can't see it all the way to the back, but certainly for our folks that are looking at this by public streaming, they can see a couple of things. In map 843, and we're going to look at the second chart, what it has for District 3, notice what I'm going to say. It references voting age population. Voting age population in District 3, 69%, District 4, 21.23, District 7, 62.72. What you would notice in that conversation, that is 2 majority-minority districts in this column and 1 majority-minority district. Certainly, I think as part of the conversation, we've received numerous comments about the spread for those particular districts. Council has challenged the staff again to take a second look at those particular districts and see if we can, first of all, get the standard deviation down even lower and try to keep like areas of the community together. That is what we certainly heard from folks that talked last night. I will assume we'll probably continue to hear more about that as part of the discussion today. But let's go to the next slide, please. As you can see from this particular map for 843A, we are right in line of where we're supposed to be according to the rules that are set for us dealing with this particular plan. Next slide, please. Just some highlights that we talked about, 2 majority-minority districts, and we'll start talking about these other things. In District 1 and different District 6, Councilor John Thomas and Councilmember Steve Goggins are both currently out of their current districts. It is our understanding, of course, that they can serve the length of their term as far as being in office for these particular areas. Next slide, please. There are 2 current school board members who will also be outside of their district. Lynn Ford and Pat DeLeon. I hope I said her name correctly. Next slide. Our tech team is going to scroll through these next slides for you just to kind of see the highlights. After then, council will have some comments, and then we'll be ready for public comment. Chairman Arant, would you like to make the first comment?
Thank you, Madam Administrator. Thank you all for coming out this evening. As Madam Administrator has said, this is a very important part in our communities, really. With redistricting, it's going to make a determination as to who's going to be your representative for the next 10 years and what area of the county you're going to be affiliated with. So it's important that we receive input from you all. What council has been doing is trying to find a way to maintain similarities within the communities to make sure that we are adequately represented in accordance with our Constitution, and to ensure that we continue to maintain diversity within council. So that's what we are looking for tonight. We are seeking your input. We are taking into consideration any comments you all may have that would continue to assist us in drafting mapping that would be appropriate to comply with all the guidelines set by our federal government for redistricting. Again, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. We await your comments and want to thank our county administrator for making a well presentation to you to give you some understanding as to what redistricting is all about and to make sure we have a clear understanding for your particular input. And we will take all your inputs into consideration. Thank you.
Evening, and thank you, Ms. Christian, for your presentation for tonight's public hearing. We are happy to hear from you. We have not made any final decisions. All decisions that county made in reference to this particular item will take in consideration whatever the public has to say. We do not make the rules. We've got to follow the rules in order to get the district lines approved. This comes to us from the federal level. We try as hard as we can to keep like districts or communities together, and that doesn't always work. because the formula is based on 9,000 residents, 9,000 plus residents in each district. That also perhaps will mean that you will be hearing from the election board that you have been moved to another district because of the population and decisions that we had to make. So as we listen and communicate with each other tonight, just remember that we have the entire county to give an account to, with each of us representing a particular district. Thank you for being here, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Administrator. And most importantly, thank you, the citizens, for coming to this event. We're seeking your input and information as we go through this process in the redistricting of Georgetown County. Again, there are a number of moving parts to this process that we must abide by, not only through the South Carolina Revenue Organization, but also federal guidelines. We are working hard to keep together wards and districts, that they run contiguously throughout the county, that we minimize the changing of voting precincts, and we look at all demographics that have been presented to us. At this point in time, we have actually looked at about 6 or 7 presentations of the proposal of various maps. But again, we solicit your input. We'll listen to every community's input into the direction we need to go. And again, thank you for coming. We appreciate your input and your participation here tonight. Thank you.
Couple of things I do need to remind you of. One is we have, after tonight, we have one more public session that's going to be on Monday at Waccamaw Regional Rec Center. From that point, we anticipate that the public hearing will be on February 8th at Howard, right here, for that council meeting. We also hope to have third reading. We will integrate all the comments and everything we've heard, along with additional comments that we will also hear on that evening. So we look forward to having all of that information ready for the first council meeting in February. Next slide, please. Couple of things that you can do for us. We have a special section on our website, gtcounty.org, redistricting. It also has a comment page attached. For those folks that couldn't come to a meeting, you can add your comments to be part of the public record, to be included with the information we pull together for council. So please feel free to add your comments on the comment page. Additionally, if you want to scan our QR code, it'll take you directly to the site. You can certainly add your comments, see all the various questions that we've posted out there. So everyone has the benefit of receiving the most information, most up-to-date information that we possibly can have. I join our council. Thank you so very much for being here, showing your interest, all the comments that we have already received. We thank you for taking the time to be a part of this community engagement, this public comment, and we are ready to start. Please make sure you sign in so we can include that as part of our public process. You're welcome to the mic. You have to come to the mic because we're live streaming. As you come to the mic, if you could please do us a favor, could you state your name?
President Obama, Travis Parker. I just have, can I get that information on which districts? Is that online?
Yes, sir.
All right, and Ms. Johnson, am I leaving your district? We're leaving your district? Okay, so, all right. So my question is the work that's being done in our area. I don't know how long it's going to take to go on for this, but will you still oversee the work that's done in our area that we're waiting to happen? I don't want that to get lost in the mix on what's going on.
Because that's the commitment that the county has made. No matter who represents Spring Gully, the work will continue.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, Marilyn Hemingway, and I'm currently in District 2, and according to the maps, possibly I'll be in District 4. I do have some bullet points that I want to quickly go through. My first is I'm very disappointed. I guess they didn't like that I'm disappointed. I am very disappointed that it's been noted that this redistricting process must be accountable to the entire county, but the entire county council is not here publicly. So I wanted to make note of that it does send a message, intentional or not, that the entire county council is not with us tonight in person. Two, we've heard about rules that, you're informed by the rules or must follow the rules. I noted on a slide earlier that there was listed traditional redistricting principles, another word for rules. But what's also noted was the Equal Protection Clause, Amendment 14, which is in our Constitution, and Voting Rights Act, which unfortunately is renewed every 10 years and it needs to be a permanent law. And I bring this up because the Constitution and the Voting Rights Act, which is a law, seems to me that overrules the rule or the principle. So y'all didn't like that either because you just turned me off. I didn't touch anything, so it's not me. All right, thank you. So I want you to consider that yes, we're influenced by the rules and we must follow the rules, but the law overrules the rules. So voting rights, and let's just be frank right now, is under attack. And for us to protect our voting rights for everyone, it starts on a local basis. And I want us to be mindful of the message we send when we have proposed districts that creates a district that doesn't have to be 22 point whatever, let's just round that up to 23% minority, when there is room to consider the census blocks to increase that number in that district. So it may not be minority majority, but it certainly could be minority influenced. Because I go back to Equal Protection Clause under Amendment 14, and to me, when I see equal, that means equity. And that's what we're looking for, simply equity. Something that sends the message that can be codified in redistricting lines that we want to hear everyone's voice. We want one man, one vote to actually be exercised in reality. So those are two things that I wanted to point out. And it leads me to my third and actually final point, that currently with District 4, where I possibly will be in, it is simply just unacceptable that the lines have been drawn that it is 22% minority, when we know, based on the census counts and other council districts that can be maneuvered, that District 4 can be a minority influenced district, therefore allowing continued minority representation of 3 on the county council rather than 2. Because the last time I looked, 3 minus 1 to 2 is subtraction, decrease, less representation possibly than 3. So I'd rather go forward or hold the line rather than to decrease the vote. Because it's my understanding, and actually more than understanding, it's our knowledge that there's 7 votes on county council. So to ensure that all voices are heard, all folks are represented, I want the lines to be drawn that we continue with 3 minority districts, if possible. And rather than having 2 strong minority districts, that we work this so that we have 2 and a possible minority influence district, making it for 3 districts that continue to represent the minority voters, in particular in this case, African American voters, and others who may feel that their voice is not being heard. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated.
My name is Bishop John Smith, and I stand. I've been in this county 45, 46, 47 years, and part of my reason for being here is to bring this county together and to help this county be a blessed place for everybody. Now, part of my problem is we keep dividing ourselves when we got to look at the big picture and represent our whole county. Georgetown is not a black county. It's not a white county. It's a county of citizens. And we have to, it's bad that we have to protect areas when we need to represent everybody. I rebuked those in the city council when they got elected. I met with them and I said this: if you're going to represent all the people, don't put your sign in just white neighborhoods and none in black neighborhoods. And I said to the black the same thing. If we're going to represent this county, if we want this county to grow, there got to be different kind of sacrifices that we are able to make and see the county as bigger than our own personal desire and pick. We've got to see this county as a place that need to grow. As a church pastor, every year we lose 3-4 students that graduate and go to college, black and white churches, and never come back to Georgetown. We lose that population. And I've been pastoring 40-something years. You add that up, 5 times 40-something. So our churches are stagnant because we are losing people. So we have to look at a bigger picture and see how things affect everybody and not just our group. We have to stop seeing color. We have to get to where we vote for a person because they're qualified and they can help us get to where we need to get. not from a white group or a black group. We need people who can represent us intelligently and make decisions that help us get to a better place. If we keep doing the same thing, we're going to keep getting the same result. And I've seen it over and over again. I love Georgetown. I'm here to see it grow. We have invested over $3 million here, have a daycare. We employ 15 people full-time. We are raising money now to build a community center for Georgetown out of our pockets and other things. So we got to see a bigger, we know the problem, but we need people who has the solution. We can't just discuss what's wrong and not come up with a solution and say, let's go in this direction. It's bigger than each council member. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than me. We got to see the bigger picture. If we raise this county up, everybody goes up. When we pull it down, everybody goes down. So I see what y'all are doing. I commend you with the redistricting and what you're doing. I commend the council. I commend you. Great job. But we can't, as a pastor, I've learned this the hard way. You can't please everybody. If you're going to try that, find you another job. Amen? Because people are hard to deal with. And I say that not putting nobody down, because when I look in the mirror sometimes, I got to talk to me, because I can be hard to deal with. And I got to keep myself in line and say, why did I come here? What's my purpose? It's not personal. It's to better where we are. Why did God bring me here? Because I had a vision to help this city. And I wish more of our leaders have vision, not division, vision. Bring to us solution like you're trying to do. And it's not easy. So thank you for the great work you're doing. I appreciate all of you guys. I wouldn't have your job for anything. I get up in the morning, I got one boss. He don't discuss with me his plan. He just tell me, and I try to follow it. God bless you. Have a good evening.
Good evening. I'm Frank McCleary, Mayor of Andrews, and I have a few questions that need some clarification on. Just to understand, one of them, just to understand, because you mentioned in your opening comments about the work that you all put into this, and again, I appreciate what you all are doing, but we'd like to be a part of the solution. We're talking about the communities. So I'd like to know a little bit more about the council's vision. Maybe it's in something writing, written, but I don't have a clear understanding of what the vision is. And it gives me some concern when we start talking about, when you say community interests, when we haven't spoken with the leader of the community or anyone down in the community. I'm only speaking for Andrews. This may have happened somewhere else, but this is the first I've had an opportunity to talk to anyone on the council about this. So when we talk about community interests, we certainly invite you down there to speak with the citizens of Andrews. The other thing you mentioned, you said community interests and like area. That to me sounds, I don't know what that means, like area, because it sounds to me that we're some form of segregation, and I know that's not your intent. I hope not. But when you say like areas, I just need to understand what that, and if you can answer that now, what do you mean when you say you want to keep the communities or the like areas? What does that mean?
Particular, I think, in the way that we looked at the design and the way the federal government looked at the design, let's say they want to keep coastal areas together. So they may have an area for the beach all in one district. That's what it means pretty much when they talk about like areas.
Okay, well, I think you're gonna have to look deeper than that, because when you do that, then you see who lives on the beach. And I'll speak specifically about Andrews, and this happened, I guess, in the previous census. We are almost evenly divided, black and white, in District 3 and District 5. We have 2 districts in Andrews. I mean, the lines are literally cut in blocks that put the majority, and I think it's 70 in the high 75% black in District 3, and about the same percentage in District 5. And I think it goes back to what the bishop said. We're talking about, you know, it should not be about color. It should be about leaders and who are there for the real purpose of serving the people. And so I think we got to, and I understand all of these things come into play. I got that. But when we're carved out like Andrews is carved out right now, I'd like to see some adjustments to that. And I don't know what drives it, but I just know geographically we are divided in District 3 and District 5. And it should not, hopefully this is not about maintaining someone's seat as opposed to representing the people, because that should not be, because we all get out here, I'm an elected official too, so if I don't get out here and campaign and work hard to convince the people that I'm the right person for the job, then it shouldn't be by the color of my skin. And so it's confusing. Maybe this is all worked out, but I have not had an opportunity to talk to anybody. Somebody, you know, to clear my mind on what's going on. So I'd like to invite our representatives down to Andrews so we can talk to the people, and that'll help us out, and that'll help, you know, spread the word on what's really going on. Maybe all the hard work that you're putting in right now is just not clearly understood.
Well, Mayor.
Because we're not communicating.
Okay, we still have a way to go, and we will meet. And again, with all of the factors, and as I mentioned before, we've looked at approximately 6 different maps. Maps offered by the state, map offered by the NAACP, and at least 6 other maps. And this is a fine-tuning process right now to meet all of the hurdles and guidelines as set forth by the Department of Justice. And we will have that dialogue, and even looking at the drawing of the maps, current maps right now, pretty much there's no major change for the town of Andrews. It's pretty much the same, and we'll have that discussion.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, but that is precisely my concern, because in my opinion, and many in the town, it wasn't done right in 2010. So then for it to remain the same, then we're gonna have the same problem. So I think those are the things, if we can, you know, make those adjustments now based on the rules and regulation guidelines you all are giving, that would be great. But we don't know that because we have not had the conversation. And you've been in this process for a few months now. You know, we could have had, you know, we could have spoken at least once.
Well,
because now we're on the far side of this thing, and I don't know when you have to make a decision in February, March. Yes. So we've lost a lot of time right now, and I know it's challenging, pandemic and all that good business, but we're going to have to do a better job at communicating. And right now, I haven't spoken to either one of you, and that gives me concern.
We'll talk.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ebony Hughes. The first thing I like to say is I appreciate council. It's a lot of decisions that have to be made, but just in sitting in the audience, I'm blown away at the attendance that's in the audience. It's a lot of people here. I'm just happy to see the participation in the room. And this shows that people are participating. They do want to attend. They do want to understand what's going on in their community because they are here. Even for those who are viewing online, we appreciate you. I don't know how many are on there, but people are here because they want to know. They know that something big is going on that is called redistricting, But I believe personally, just from talking from many people, that people really don't know what it is and exactly how that affects them. I think what's key, and I think Mayor McCleary kind of hit on that, is the education and how the process of what we're doing now, people, I feel, should be educated about that process well before now. And what makes it really sort of the challenging part is because it only happens every 10 years. We also know that because of census, again, all these things are kind of done simultaneously and a lot of decisions are having to be made. I believe that it's the obligation of council is to educate. And by the show of hands here, information that was presented on the screen with all the numbers and the percentages, who actually understood all those numbers? Very few people actually understood what was even presented today. They're here because they're thirsty and they want to know. They're looking at the information, and I feel like people sort of kind of go along with it because they don't really know and maybe not even know how to speak up and ask. I feel like the public meetings are geared toward convincing the people on a decision that council has already made. People's inputs, of course, matter. That's why we're supposed to be here, but sometimes I feel like it's just for formality. How are people's input being included in this? From what I can see, and starting from when you enter in the building with the maps that are outside, that the only maps that are presented are your own. So the needs of the people should already have been the first priority in every step of the way to begin with. So one of the questions that I do have is, why isn't the NAACP map being considered or at least presented along with other maps that might have also been presented? Why is this particular map, the 843A, the one that is primarily put up for people to see now? And I feel like, again, it's council convincing the people on a decision that they pretty much well have already made within, I don't know what favors what. So me personally, I'm in favor of 3 districts. And the last part that I'd like to just throw in there, which sort of has something to do with redistricting, but it's happening right now because the land use map usage survey is being passed around. I've been promoting it, getting people to try to fill that out. It is important, but there's even some, I think, issues with that. The first thing is that redistricting, the survey, the questions are ambiguous. And depending upon how a person answers the questions, and once you gather all your data, that whatever side or agenda a person wants to push, those answers can really lean toward one side or another. So with the land use, I think that those questions probably should have come up from a professional person that, or company that does surveying, these kind of surveys, so that when the data is gathered, it can have a more concise picture of what the people actually want. The questions, like for example, I'm looking at one of the questions, and it talks about, are people in favor of mixed-use development, commercial and residential, less, more, the same? Well, somebody can say more because we do need housing. Then another question says duplexes, triplexes, quads, less, more, the same. And then the next question goes on to say multifamily development, meaning that more than 4 units are in one building. All that sounds great, but we have to also look at who are those duplexes and quads for? Is it affordable? So that different type of people can afford them, or they're gonna be more like condos. And so when you start talking about condos, who can afford condos? We need mixed use type of housing. And I know that we're not here for that, but again, it's going on tonight, so I kind of wanted to throw that in there. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Jacqueline Williams. I am a resident of Georgetown. I'm in District 3, and I'm a local minister here. I first do want to commend you all for the work that you have done. I know it has been arduous work, and I commend you for the work that you have done, but the work is still leaving us wanting. I've listened to comments about unifying our community and leaders speaking from a place of unity and not division. And while I got all of that, I think that the way that the lines are currently drawn, I think that those lines what's being proposed doesn't unify us, but it pushes us back even further. To have a district that has primarily been represented by an African American, to switch now with just 23% minority in that particular district, when there are census blocks that could be moved to that district to boost those numbers and move it into a minority influencer district, I think that would be the way to go. We've heard the argument about the census. We've heard the rationale that, you know, the trend that's taking place in Georgetown. People are leaving, minorities are leaving, young people are leaving, they're not coming back. We've heard all of that. We understand what the problem is. We keep hearing about the problem and the challenges. What we're not hearing is what are the viable solutions. That's what we're not hearing. The way this map is being presented to us, it's almost in the sense that council has thrown its hands up and said, well, you know, it's going to change in about 10 years, so let's just go ahead and acquiesce now, as opposed to giving us the time to even pivot. I would rather fight for a win with a 40-something% minority district than to walk around knowing that the district wasn't even given a chance to even create a win for minorities in that district. I mean, I understand all the kumbaya moments. I'm a minister. I got all the kumbaya moments. I really do. I got all the working together. I got all the this is not a black, this is not a white. But Jesus came for a broken world. He came to restore a broken world. And I'm sorry, our world as African Americans have been broken from the time the ships landed and we stepped foot on the soil in this country. When is somebody going to look after the welfare and the needs of us? Everything is geared towards what people are proposing is the future, and that is ultimately gentrification, and ultimately this being a tourist trap for wealthy people. Now, wealthy people may have some broken issues, but $7.25 an hour is not one of them. Being underrepresented is not one of them. Those are our issues. And as council, I think it would be everybody's responsibility on council. I don't care what color you are. Everybody's responsibility on council should be to level the playing field for all citizens. And this map that has been presented does not do that. And the fact that the other council members that are on council that are not here speaks volumes. It speaks volumes. Because they should be just as concerned. It may not affect their district, but it speaks volumes. They should be just as concerned about every citizen in Georgetown as much as they are about the one in their district. It seems like to me, because they understand that their vote is good and their district is good, they have no need to be here. Move some census blocks and at least give us a fighting chance. At least give us a fighting chance. Move some census blocks and give us a fighting chance. And yes, it would reduce the numbers in District 3. It would reduce the numbers in Mr. Moran's district. But you know what? If we have to work harder for the win, then let's work harder for the win. You know, we're here. We have shown up. We're giving voice. The voice needs to be heard. Our voice needs to be heard. And as a leader in this community, what I refuse to do is not to be transparent and not to recognize that as African Americans living in Georgetown, our day has not yet come where people are putting our needs as representatives in the forefront and leveling the playing field for us. This is an opportunity for council to do that by reconstructing this map and allowing us to get into the fight to secure that 3rd district, if only for 10 more years. Give us the 10 years. Give us the 10 years. And in 10 years, hopefully, council and the leaders in the city that are leading the city government, county government, will come up with some kind of cohesive plan to have our children to want to stay here and to want to be here. Everybody is concerned about tourists coming into this area. Nobody is concerned about keeping our young people here. Nobody is concerned about that. Everything that's being built and brought into Georgetown is for the wealthy. There is nothing out there on the table for working class people. Nothing. And that which would have helped us, affordable housing, was voted down. Do the right thing. Redo this map.
Good evening. My name is Willie Singleton. I think when the sisters were talking about minority influence, they weren't necessarily trying to create division. If Pastor Smith had went a little farther, we want you all to be honest, to think like God. Everything God created in existence, and this is what minority influence is, everything he created in existence, he created it in equal, opposite, and opposing pairs. Equal, opposite. We're not asking you to do 50%. What they said with 40 and 45, it means that you're trying to think like God's, in the mind of God. When you create things in equal, opposite, and opposing pairs, it reproduces creation. So if you want us to be able to reproduce, do something for self, then think like God. That's what they're trying to tell you to do. They're not asking you, when you do something and you give us 22%, you're not thinking like God's. That's not even close to being balanced. We understand now because you said you can move boundary lines. That's what we want you to do. We're not asking you, it's an illusion to say that there's not division already here when it comes to black and white. I understand what the pastor said, but if you go deeper into the reality of what is, when the sister said he came for broken people, that's us. We were broken, we are broken, but we don't have to think like those who broke us. We just want you to think in a godly way. That's what we're asking you to do. We don't need to have super minority districts is saying that we really got problems, and we do have problems, but don't create a greater problem for us. All we want you to do, if you can get 45% and move those lines, then you will be telling everybody, that you want to think like God. You don't want to do things truly imbalanced like District 4. That is a sign of sickness, whether we want to believe it or not. That is so imbalanced. This is why when you create things in equal pairs, you got male, female. If a man struggles all day, he comes home, the female is there to give him balance. That's why he creates everything in equal, opposite, and opposing pairs. You all are not thinking in a way, whereas we see God in your actions. Now, when you do a 22.8%, there was some thinking in there that was totally imbalanced. It was imbalanced. For you to even think and accept that, and we mean no disrespect to you, but like the gentleman from Andrews said, if you had given us a chance to speak to you all before you did the maps, we probably could have told you. The brother and sister talked about the NAACP maps. I'm not saying that you should use anybody's maps other than God map. Because if you had met with us earlier and you had spoken to us, the only thing we would have said was, try and be balanced. Because if you're balanced and you're showing white and blacks that we want to overcome the sickness that got us in this condition. But if you do not do it in a balanced way, then what good is Christ coming for you and I? We are considered the lost sheep. We're not the Gentiles in the Bible, but we think and act like Gentiles. You do not want to think in an imbalanced way because other people do wrong. This is our problem. And then then you talk about, and I'll say this in closing, about not separating. Do you know in the beginning of creation, the first thing God did was separate the atom? Because in your mind is separated, concentration and deconcentration. So in the beginning of the mind of God, there was separation. There's a reason why it's like that. And it's balance. That's all we want you to do. Think like God and make sure whatever you all do is balanced. Because if you give us 45%, we'll make up the 5 to make it balanced. Thank you.
My name is Zane Wilson. I live in Maryville since 1987. Wanted to encourage and appreciate having Georgetown not in the same district with the beach areas. I don't think that has been useful for us. Having heard what I've heard here, certainly encourage any other adjustments that can be made to the population of the districts. Just on paper, it looks good as far as the deviations, but it's what, the 22% or whatever it is in District 4 is a little discouraging. But that's all I have to say.
Good evening. Good evening. Again, thank you to our county administrator. I know it's a lot of work, but you know how to do that. To the county council chairman, Lewis Morant, Sister Little Jean Johnson, and Brother Everett Carolina. Thank you all for coming tonight and sharing this opportunity with the Georgetown County. Thank you to all the citizens that showed up tonight and spoke tonight. And I agree with pretty much everything that they have said, because that is, they were talking about one man, one vote. They're filling the one person, one vote requirement by the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. The 2020 U.S. Census have resulted in the demonstration that South Carolina have experienced significant population shift and growth during the past decade. These things we know required actions to bring the districts for Georgetown in compliance with the Constitution, equal population mandate. I think you've done that within the deviation. The district's population may deviate from each other within 10%. Have an equal population among districts. What I saw tonight, you have the equal population, but the blocks, the way you did it, does not give us equal representation. We have addressed our concerns in the past month. What you're presenting tonight is not acceptable. The numbers look great, but it does not represent equality within the process for the one person, one vote that is required for all citizens. Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act prohibits local government and all government from drawing electoral lines with the purpose of or effective of diluting the voting strength for voters of color. That's what I'm here representing tonight, the voters of color, as presented tonight, with District 3 at 69%, District 4 at 21%, and District 7 at 62.7%. That is racial gerrymandering, whether it's black or white. It's packing and cracking. As it relates to District 4, this is a violation of the 14th Amendment. 21%, that's a no-go. Creation of two majority or supermajority district is not in favor of District 4, number one, and it violates the one person, one vote obligation again. That's required. The NAACP map, I've yet to hear being talked about. The question is, why not? And are you willing to relook the map and reconsider? And I understand you're trying to get closer, but every District 4 should not be at a 21% and tell the citizen that they have equal opportunity and the same rights as District 3 and District 2 and the other districts in Georgetown and have fair representation. That is voting dilution. The voice of all citizens of color is definitely not represented based on what you presented tonight. 2 votes for the majority district is not enough. And I think some prime example was given tonight with just affordable housing recently, 90 units. We lost. We couldn't even get the black county councilman to vote for it. We have enough problem getting 3 votes. Imagine 2. The likely areas is impossible because it's contradictory to the census block, which is a false narrative anyhow, because we didn't have a full census count because of 1 month being removed from the process by an insurrectionist president that we had. And also COVID-19 didn't do us any favors either. If you look at the registration number versus the census number, it's totally contradictory. That's why I'm not comfortable with this, what you're presenting here tonight also. We don't need to create a problem, in which I think we are with what you presented. 21%, like I said before, it's a no-go. Supermajority, it's a no-go, because it creates the 21%. What I'm asking is that you go back and relook, and even come back to this auditorium again. I know you're going to Walkmore, but Walkmore does not fit the comfortability as Howard for the citizens that's sitting here tonight. Because they will be packed in Walkmore, because they have what they want. And they always get what they want. And there's a lot of things that comes with that. When we start talking about redistricting, we're also looking at comprehensive plan, land use maps. We're looking at jobs. We're looking at opportunity for housing. All these things comes with redistricting, because that vote matters. That one vote that we're about to move from council matters, or that one vote that we have the opportunity in District 4 to have, even at 45%, which is, we can get to 52. We have proven that. Because I don't think the person that drew our map from the NAACP, national and state, is incompetent. He's been doing this for the last 3 decades, even in Georgetown. So the census block is really not our problem. It's how we set up the census block to get to where we are tonight for the 2 supermajority minority district. I think we need to go back and relook that. And I understand what was said last night at Choppy about the census block. You are absolutely correct. But one thing that you're not correct about, those blocks can be shifted, like Brother Willie Sainton said tonight, Sister Jackie Williams said tonight, and Sister Marilyn Hemingway and Ebony Hughes. We all speaking the same language, the same voice. So I'm asking that you go back and reconsider, because it should not take legislation to bring us back to the table to say that we were wrong in the process and we had the opportunity to get it right the first time. And I think that opportunity is still here and available. I know you're voting on the 8th of February, and that's y'all's decision, but I hope that you make the right decision then, based on the concerns of the citizens and the needs of all the people in Georgetown. That was said tonight, all the people in Georgetown. And I'm not a preacher, but God, he came to set the captive free. And we've been captive for a long time. It's time to be set free, and that opportunity is here. Thank you for your time. God bless you. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you all for all of your comments and the questions that have been asked. We are here this evening to really present information to you and to get input back from you, which you all have done, and we appreciate that. We will take your comments and your input into consideration in looking at the map. As we told you during the input period, that this map is not a final draft. We have gotten together and looked at the map as it is, and we are looking at making some changes to the map as it presently stands. We wanted to hear your comments from the citizens so that we can make those adjustments that would coordinate with the rules and regulations and the law that the U.S. has supplied to us. And that's what we're really looking at. We're looking at complying with all the federal regulations in order to assure that that our map would pass Justice Department criteria. We have looked at several maps. And again, this map is not the final draft that you're seeing here. It's just that we are working within a time period, and we're required to present something to come in compliance with our time guidelines. And as Madam Administrator has shown you earlier, where we are with the mapping and why certain votes had to be taken. Just because we took a vote on a particular map does not mean that map is going to be the final map. we are taking the community into consideration. We have taken the community into consideration, and we are trying to find ways to adapt and adjust because we realize that there's some changes have been done. And just in case you're wondering where the 9,000 figure came from, it has to do with the population of Georgetown County. The population of Georgetown County is supposed to be equally divided within our single-member districts. That's where the 9,000 came from. The population of Georgetown County is approximately 64,000, if I'm not mistaken. And that's where the 9,000 figure comes from. So you're looking at trying to get as close as possible to 9,000 residents within each one of those particular districts, and that's what we are looking at. So again, I need for you all, when you leave here, to understand that the map that you're looking at outside, from our position, is not the final map that's going to be approved through council. That's where we are right now. So certain adjustment may be made with that particular map to have consideration of your inputs and your concerns for this evening. So we are looking at those particular matters also. And again, we appreciate you all being here. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for your input. And we look forward to having more discussions with you. And as far as being informed, that's what the community forums are all about, to inform you. You know, we are not required to do this, but we desire to, well, we wanted to make sure we get some input from you. We wanted to assist you. We wanted to educate, just like you all asked us to do. And that's what we are doing. We're trying to educate. If you have questions, we have the website, which has information on it. So we're trying to make sure that you're properly educated and have an understanding of what redistricting is all about, the same way we try to do when we were trying to inform you and get you out to make sure you get people out to comply with the census. Because all of those have some type of effect as to what's going on right now. That's where we are. And the numbers that we are working with is the numbers that has been provided to us from the census. Although the census, as reported, may not have been accurate, but those are the numbers that we have to work with. That's what the law basically says. And again, thank you all. And if comment from any of our other council members present.
I too would like to say thank you for being here. We appreciate your comments, and I assure you that they will not fall on deaf ear. We heard you. We are working with District 4, and that number that you see tonight, or that number that we talked about tonight, is not the final answer. And you'll have to see that in action and not just our words. Thank you for coming tonight.
I'd like to also say, again, thank you for exercising your civic responsibility and democratic process here. Again, it's been reiterated that the map that you've seen is not the final map. We are going to be reviewing and listening to all comments to come out with the best situation for Georgetown County. Again, thank you for coming out.